What's good, cousins? It's your girl, Inkiee.Priestess. Thank you so much for joining me. And I just wanted to remind y'all, this ain't therapy, but it's gonna feel like it. And today, I really just wanted to talk about taking the big leap, because I feel like that's one of those things that are so better said than done, to say the very least. And I feel like a lot of us are getting to a point where we're recognizing that destiny is calling us in and that the divine is calling us higher, but the ego could be a bit afraid and want to stay in spaces that are lateral, or spaces that we understand, or spaces that are familiar. But the divine is saying turn up the gas, especially as we're closing out this year cycle, and this being a year cycle of being the number 9, things coming around full circle. Y'all might see my cats running up and down my steps, but things coming around full circle in your favor. So of course, as this cycle is ending, you're going to feel some pressure, but it is because you're being called higher, and it's time for you to take a step. But I think the first step in taking a step is reframing our fear of failure. Oftentimes we are so afraid to disappoint ourselves, or we're so afraid to experience a high height and then fall, because we've attached so much of our self-worth to what it is that we can produce. And I think that oftentimes the divine will bring us into spaces or into experiences just so we can gain the wisdom and take it with us to make a solid foundation for the next chapter. So reframe how you're looking at failure, because failure is completely perspective driven. When you become someone who walks in the mentality of knowing that you are divinely covered and that you are a winner, the divine and the universe has no choice but to reflect that back to you. So reframe how you look at having to go back to the drawing board, or having to restart, or having to shift lanes. There's nothing wrong with that. But keep in mind that nothing happens by way of coincidence. So if you're being called to slow down, it's just because it's that season. You will harvest again. The only way that you can grow and expand is by way of challenging yourself and challenging your growth, challenging what it is that you know. And when the divine calls you, it's because your energy feels so suited and so perfect for what the divine is trying to anchor in to reality. But if you are moving in a space of resistance, then the divine cannot use you as a vessel when you are such a worthy vessel. But it's not enough if you don't see that and understand that for yourself. You are a reflection of the divine. Light and abundance literally oozes from you. Step into that. Wear that and let that run the show instead of fear of failure. When failure is just a perspective, and it is completely a part of the human experience as well. How else do you expand if you don't challenge yourself? Or if you don't challenge your inner knowing? If you don't challenge how far you came? So, reframe how you look at challenge. And these tools that the divine is giving you, in order for you to reframe your perspective and how you're looking at things, is going to be so vital in the seasons to come, my darling. So get out of the victim consciousness and take on the ideology of accepting elevation and the challenges that do come with that. But it's time for you to show up in your power, because the divine sees you as such. Otherwise, you never would have got this message. You never would have got the download for you to show up, or for you to take inspired action on what Spirit is telling you to do. And it gets to a point where it's unbecoming of you for you to keep disregarding your divine favor and the divine choosing you. You keep saying, no, maybe it's them, maybe it's my kids, maybe it's my mom, maybe it's my dad, maybe it's whoever else but you, because you refuse to see the light within yourself. Maybe you're allowing past failures to run the show of what you feel like you will do in the future, but you don't sit with yourself enough for you to know how far you've came, and for you to really see your progression externally and internally, for you to truly see that you deserve this and that you can do this and that you were called because you're actually overqualified. You're more than qualified. You keep talking yourself out of your abundance because you keep letting that fear run the show. And I feel like the divine is taking you through a bit more, but it's because people are going to look at you and your journey to see how to do the thing, how to walk the walk, how to talk the talk. So yeah, you need to build up your stamina and your endurance and your confidence. So much so to the point where you're not only able to see your value when you are in harvest, but also to where you're able to see your value in a drought. But the divine has called you by name for you to anchor in light in this reality in only a way that you can. So it's time for you to show up with a bit less excuses. But even when the excuses show up, sit with them for a minute. Why are they showing up? Why do you feel that way? Why does your subconscious mind always throw you an exit or a delay? And if you can understand where it's coming from, the root of it, then you can reframe how you go about it moving forward without pulling yourself apart, without being hypercritical, or without being mean to yourself, because you're not going to be able to bully yourself into more out of life. You're going to have to be able to heal yourself into a new way of life, and that requires you to be gentle as well, especially as you are birthing into a version of you that you've never been and you've likely never seen. But that is why you're chosen to do it. Those in your bloodline before you maybe didn't have the space or maybe didn't have the awareness that you do. But your guides waited for you to get to this point where you're accepting of your calling, so that you can liberate those before you and those after you, just by way of you accepting your authenticity and accepting your power, by way of reframing negative perspectives and turning them into light. And when you do that, you activate your DNA from the inside out, and your bloodline eats off of that. So it's time for you to get more comfortable with being a chosen one and knowing that you are a visionary. And that's why the divine is telling you that it's time for you to take more inspired actions on your ideas, because it's time for you to do the thing. You are ready to receive. And I think that the world and the collective is getting to a space where they are ready to receive you too. And that's why you feel pressure to move forward. That's your greatness pulling you in. If we have the capacity to choose whether we want to believe that that we're going to fail and that things are going to hit the fan and nothing's going to work, or that things are going to work better than we could have imagined and that we're going to be happier than ever, if we have potential energy because we're neutral to choose either or, why not choose the thing that you actually want instead of focusing on the thing that you don't? Because whatever it is that you focus on is what grows. So stop focusing on what it is that you feel like you lack and start showing up, because baby steps over time do turn into quantum leaps. But if you don't start, the divine has nothing to work with. So it's time for you to take a step and detach your personal value from what it is that you can produce, or a turnaround time, because you're so much more than that. And your journey is so much more than that. So yes, it may be a bit more difficult for you to get to where it is that you want to go, but it's because you were divinely chosen for that. You're the pioneer. You're the first one to do the thing. Nobody said it was going to be easy, and you are never exempt from character development. But I promise you, the divine will always compensate you more than well on the back end at the right time. So reframe your perspective of having to restart, having to show up for yourself, and having to be courageous in your ideas. You are truly a mogul in the making. Don't die with that on your blueprint without having anchored that into this reality, because it was chosen for you. But you let fear run the show. Fear is just a feeling, also an illusion. But if fear is a feeling, we know that feelings are visitors. And we know that visitors don't stay forever. Visitors, they come and go, and they don't run the house. They gotta go. So reframe how you're looking at things. Reframe your perspective, because the divine is trying to nudge you more closely into your greatness. But you have to show up, and you have to be willing to put in more work, because the height that you're going to experience is going to be so beautiful and so worth it. And the character development is what's going to make your manifestation solid. But you have to take a step. You have to start somewhere. And it's to a point where you have to give yourself permission to run out of excuses. You have to stop giving yourself permission to not be great. If the divine gave you these gifts, why would you let them go to waste? You are so gifted. You are so talented. And it's time for you to maybe place your perception elsewhere. Instead of thinking that you're lacking and that you're not capable or that you're not interesting enough, start to reframe your inner knowing, saying that I can do this. I am ready. And if I'm not ready, I can get ready. I am that girl. I am that guy. Start affirming your life. And you'll start to notice that the divine was listening the entire time you were dreaming. When you were dreaming up your partner, when you were dreaming up your dream job or your dream business or what you wanted life to be like, the divine was listening the entire time. But once you get out of your own way and you just show up, you will start to see how you were in your way and the divine just had your manifestations waiting for you, and it was better than you even dreamt the first time. So you have to choose to get out of your way. You have to choose to accept that you are great. You have to also get used to being different and not taking everybody with you. Everybody's not going to support you right away. You may be considered weird or strange or what have you, but it's because your journey is not lateral like most. Because your divine inheritance is grander than most. So don't let people influence you on your journey toward more. You feel that inner knowing and that calling toward greatness or to do something because that is the divine telling you that this is yours. Show up. Show up as a reflection of the divine, not as a reflection of your shadow. Don't be pessimistic of your greatness when you are literally covered in fairy dust and magic just as you are. So embody the energy of the magician, and the divine will continue to give you the resources internally and externally that you need. But you are not exempt from character development, and that is why you were never really going to be allowed to just have it all at once. The divine wanted to make sure that you had the tools that was going to garner you proper sustainability for the long haul. So it's time for you to accept your greatness. It's time for you to accept your calling. It's time for you to take a step. It's time for you to show up and give your guides in the universe some more material to work from, because it can only reflect back to you what you project to it. If you're being mirrored stagnicity, it's because you're allowing yourself to be stagnant. It's time to move that energy. It's time to take a step. And if it works, amazing. If it doesn't, so what? That's the power and the sauce of being a divine being, because you're always going to be divinely connected, and more ideas and more inspiration and more light codes will greet you every which way, just so long as you are open to receiving. That's what the human experience is about. So show up with a fresher face and a fresher perspective, because there's so much for you to gain. But the divine can't work from anything that you won't do for yourself. Faith without work is dead. We know that. So it's time for you to address your fears accordingly and acknowledge them, because they're real, and that's okay. But we don't have to lead with that and act off of that. Acknowledge them and make baby steps toward how you're going to confront them one by one by one. And keep in mind that Rome was not built overnight. Egypt was not built overnight. So this is something that you're going to have to do in routine. But just so long as you show up, the divine will get you to that point where these aspects that you're teaching yourself become second nature to you. But you have to show up. You have to take a step. You have to stop convincing yourself that you are not a chosen one. You have to get out of lateral thinking and accept your greatness. Because exactly what you are seeking is seeking you too. And it's okay to feel scared, to feel intimidated, to have anxiety, because life has shook us around a little bit. But that doesn't mean that you had to suffer the entire time. This is actually where the divine gives back to you everything. And everything starts to make sense as to why it took so long or so much labor for you to get to this point. But you have to get out of the way and get out of the victim consciousness that has been allowing you to lead with fear, maybe even self-resentment. Create space for more, because you can have more. But it is time, my darling, it is time. And you are being called to the forefront. And yes, you may be pulled out of your comfort zone just a little bit. And that may be another thing that keeps you fearful of taking a step. But that's okay. That's okay. Everybody struggles with fear. Even the people that you look up to, they've been fearful of things as well. But that fear and that anxiety is just like a protective big sister trying to keep you where they know is safe. But it's okay for you to say, hey, I don't need that coverage right now. Thank you. Thank you for trying to protect me. But I want to greet this experience with a lot more excitement on the other side of this wall. But the divine is choosing you. And it's just time for you to choose yourself, to accept that you are great, to accept that you are a golden child, to give yourself permission to run out of excuses, and to give yourself permission to be flexible so that the divine can bring in more quantum energy and quantum expression into your life because you allowed it to do so. But this is where you recognize that you are you are a mogul in the making, and none of it was in vain. So take a step. I challenge you. I challenge you to take a step, to just show up just one day, and then maybe try it again tomorrow, and then maybe the next day. But I challenge you to have the self-belief to continue to take a step before it makes sense, but just trusting the divine. I challenge you to affirm yourself, to affirm your vision, to affirm your greatness. Who cares who's supporting now or not? The divine is not going to abandon you in this. So you cannot abandon yourself. Express your greatness. It's time. We're ready to see you. We're ready to receive you. So show up in your power and wear your stripes well. And you will better understand why you were chosen for this journey, for this toil, and why it had to be you, and it couldn't have gone any other way. But the divine had you covered the entire time. So take a step. Intuitively, you already know what to do. You just have to show up with proper inspired action. But your inner child is ready for you to be free and for you to experience all of the beauties of life, and not just the lows, the highs too. But give the divine more to work with, and get out of your own way, and get out of your own head, or get out of this cycle that you've been on of thinking that you're just going to produce more of the same. Life is just going to give you back more of the same. That's not true. But life will greet you where you are. Life can only mirror back to you your belief systems and the energy that you project into it. So I challenge you to project light, love, and self-belief, and to take a step, because you are a chosen one that is a reflection of the Most High. Now, this ain't therapy, but it feels like it. And I wanted to tell you that I love you and that I see you and that there is greatness for you. I call it over your life. Call it into your own, because the divine has already chosen you by name. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you want to see more. Let me know what maybe you want to talk about next. What are you struggling with, cousin? Allow me to hold space for you. And subscribe. Run them numbers up. Run them comments up. Send this to somebody who needs to hear it, who needs to remember their greatness. I love you, and I'll see you soon.